So when I saw inside that man that night, I knew we could do no wrong. I knew he would win, and I knew he would change the world. I believed it the night in Garrett Park when Michelle and I were 10 feet from the podium as Barack won the election. And I knew it days later when I was fortunate enough to sit on the podium for the inauguration. I was right. Indeed, the U.S. would finally understand that the problems we face that unite us are far greater than any differences or prejudices that divide us. But understanding is plainly only the first step. We all have work to do. We each face an individual call to action. For me, the call came rather directly when President Obama called me in March of this year. He called to thank me for my friendship, and he told me that he believed the people in Europe and around the world were taking a fresh look at America. The question was, what would they see? Would they see a renewed commitment to dialogue and to focusing on the common humanity of people from all around the planet? Would they see the integrity of our words, the transparency of our deeds? I was deeply honored by the President's call and honored to be part of what you all see, along with Michelle and the rest of the members of our embassy, when you take that fresh look. So I have pledged to visit, and I will get there, every city, every commune, and every village in Belgium, all 589, those for which American ambassadors always travel to, and those who've never seen an American ambassador. And can't you feel it, particularly in this room? Can't you just touch it? The feeling of renewed friendship and partnership between Belgium and America, kind of traveling through the Grand Place and up through Antwerp, through the Ardennes, across Dinant to Namur, and even to Charleroi, because I feel it every day. So where do these roads take us? Where do they lead us? First on the national issues, and then maybe on some of the issues, financial and local, in this community. Afghanistan, well, to start with, we have to rebuild Afghanistan, and we have to rebuild it together, as Belgians, as Americans, and as the world, because what happens there affects us all. Sometimes it seems far away, not only from Belgium and Brussels and even Charleroi, but from Texas and Miami. And it often doesn't seem real. And war, losing 8 people yesterday of Americans, is the greatest sacrifice any nation or any alliance can ever make. But terror is as real as the crumbled steel of the World Trade Tower, the blown out windows on the buses in London, or the trains in Madrid. And if New York and Washington and Madrid and London can still not rest assured, how could Texas or Miami or Brussels or even Charleroi? Moreover, Belgians and Americans and many others are helping Afghans to create a safer environment throughout their country on our way towards helping to establish a lasting framework for reconstruction and development. We know these efforts go hand in hand, and time is not on our side. So it's important to get this right and get it right now. Now, some of you might not be asking the questions, but you know all your Belgian neighbors are, which is, can we afford to trust America on this issue this time? Haven't they given us so much cause for doubt? They should never be afraid to ask that. They have every right. You have every right. And until we trust each other as neighbors, we can't begin to build that better world. But I think they have the answer in their grasp. I am fortunate to represent a country I've long loved, in a country I'm growing to love, and obviously on behalf of a president whom I believe to my core. But the Belgians have heard him many times, and they've seen him deliver. As promised, he's responsibly bringing an end to the role of U.S. combat troops in Iraq. He has removed American combat brigades from the Iraqi citizens and set a deadline of next August to remove all combat brigades from Iraqi territory. He will not put an American soldier or ask an ally to put one of theirs in harm's way 1 minute longer than is needed to protect all of our sons and daughters. And since I arrived in Belgium, I've spent a great deal of time with the Supreme Commander of the NATO forces, Admiral James Stavridis. You will find none better. Like the President, Admiral Stavridis well understands that the problems in Afghanistan cannot be solved simply by military might. Imagine that, a Supreme Commander who says, we can't do it all. He understands it's going to require civilian support which is going to require money and expertise. The international community remains committed to Afghanistan's development and has altogether pledged $110 billion since 2001, with the United States supplying more than half that total. Belgium's doing its part by pledging at the NATO summit not only to expand, but to continue its military aid and its military assistance. And so today, Americans and Belgians are helping to rebuild the country, helping Afghans to build roads and schools and the clinics that are improving the lot of every Afghan. Afghanistan is not an American problem. It's a problem facing the world. It won't be solved by America alone, by its might or its strategy. It will be solved by a partnership of the world's citizens. The road to our partnership leads right through a safer Afghanistan. Economic recovery. You heard Scott's review. I can never match it. But the part I always find amusing is when politicians and journalists and some business leaders talk about the economic crisis as though it is completely something new, totally a recent development. They pretend that prosperity flourished for all until some bankers happened to fool the world last fall. But in Newark, New Jersey, and Detroit, Michigan, and Southwest Virginia, and in Charleroi, and the former industrial and mining capitals throughout the world, they know better. We know better. The crisis has existed for decades, whether or not Wall Street or the bourse ever slowed down to notice it. It was created for many not by the sudden collapse of real estate mortgages, but by the slow deterioration of industries and mines, more focused on their past heyday than on their dwindling futures. So this time, for Detroit, for Newark, for Southwest Virginia, for Charleroi, we have to get it right, and we have to get it right together. Clearly, a financial economic recovery based on real international cooperation, based on transparency, based on lasting, meaningful reform is necessary. Without it, no lasting recovery is possible. But financial reform is not sufficient. This time, we need to see a little further down the road, and we need to take that look together. For where others see crisis, true leaders see opportunity. Inherent in the collapse of most of the economic functioning is the opportunity to rebuild it and to build it better. To honor the past by transitioning to the job-creating industries of the future. Biotech, pharmaceuticals, agri-biofoods, clean energy. And in so doing, this time we can leave no one behind. Because in these fields, in a world of technology and alternative energy, of research and information, if you can build it in New York, if you can build it in Paris, if you can build it in Mumbai, you can build it in Newark, you can build it in Southwest Virginia, and you certainly can build it in Charleroi. So together we have to get it right. Johnson & Johnson's doing it, Google has come, Hewlett-Packard has come, they're getting the message. But we've got to do it right. We've got to invest and invest in the cities and invest in the future. Now I think some of the Belgians get it as much as anybody, because twice in 1 week I sat in Wallonia and heard Rudy de Mott talk about his Marshall Plan 2.0. And I've met with Chris Peters about what industries are collapsing and which ones are coming up. And he gets it. And I've talked to Charles Piquet about the future of Belgium, and he gets it. So if we all get it, we've got to get it right. Climate change. Can there be any doubt? No matter who's bought tables at this dinner, can there be any doubt? Is there any debate? Could it not be clearer that we can no longer afford to borrow heavily, to pay over $1 billion a day for a fossil fuel addiction that at times fuels those who most oppose our security? Now, I can say this right here because I've said it to the following people. I got hired or approached by a company I love dearly who bought a table here, ExxonMobil. I got approached by their international head of public relations, Ken Cohn, by Susan McCarran, and one of my dear friends, Gene Van Snyder, is a leader in Washington. They are a terrific citizen in Washington. But they came to me and asked, why is Obama anti-business? A fair question in this room. Does he understand the importance